The idea I'm going to start with now originally came from Eric Butterworth, but initially before him it came from the New Testament. And the suggestion here was to give thanks in all circumstances. So we talk about that from time to time, about being grateful, giving thanks in all circumstances. And as I was thinking about that for this evening's gathering, I thought, that's really a tough thing to ask people to do, to give thanks for all things and to give thanks in all circumstances. But that's really the work that we do as New Thought students. Our challenge is to see the good in all things. And I remember from many years before, when I was more versed with Scripture, from a different part of the book, Thessalonians, I believe. It says, the grateful heart, the grateful heart is what we're supposed to have. And Butterworth said it also. He said, in all things, give thanks. So in other words, considering all the challenges that you're facing right now, and I'm facing right now, and people are facing in this country, probably everywhere, and considering all the things that are going on, there seems to be a lot of fear and a lot of division in the world. You heard us last week or the week before saying, and we're not participating in that. And the fact is, we teach you in this teaching that you don't have to participate in all the fearful stuff. Because if you listen to it, if you turn on any of the radio programs or podcasts or television stations, you'll hear about chaos, you'll hear about division, you'll hear about hatred, lack of love, lack of peace. You'll hear about people in the world who are experiencing a lack of resources. And so it's easy to listen to all of that. And I was thinking in my week this week, I've had some lack of patience here and there. We can experience lack also, a lack of anything really. Maybe you're just having a challenging day or a challenging week dealing with life at the moment. But the antidote to all of this, of course, is for us to learn to love ourselves more and to have a shift in consciousness. And that's what Louise Hay's work will allow you to do if you keep at it. If you practice our teaching in New Thought, which is the science of mind, Ernest Holmes, Ernest will say there's power for good in the universe. And we can say to ourselves, there's good in this, there's God in this, there's God in everything. So there's power for good in the universe, and it responds to you. Life is unfolding perfectly. And you might say to yourself, I want to heal myself. I want to heal my life. And of course you can. And then you can say to yourself, I can see peace instead of what I'm seeing. When you're in trouble and you're having any problem with anything, with your health or your relationships, or you're just worried about something, you really can say to yourself, I can see health instead. I can see peace instead. I can see calm instead. I can see the reality of God instead. I can know that, Spirit is here, God is here. And I know it's hard to do that at times, but I can, and so can you. You can see peace instead. So whatever you're experiencing that's unpleasant or tough or rough, you do have the power to see peace instead of it, or to see it as God in action. You can learn to quiet yourself down and to be still, and in that stillness, and tell yourself all is well. Louise would say that she trusts the process of life is operating perfectly. So we can learn to do that. We can learn to be still and not react. A week or two ago, it was said, when I was younger, I used to think, well, each day there's like all these fish hooks, and I could just react to everything. And I could be reacting and fighting all day long. And many people do live their lives that way. They live their life in reaction to everything, but you don't have to. You could do it another way. I can learn not to react. You know, each of us are a center of what we call God activity, meaning source, indwelling spirit. The whole bit is operating in you, quietly, in you and through you. So you don't have to react to anything. Louise said, all is well. I trust the process of life to be there for me. I can learn moment to moment to trust life. So think about that for this evening. I can let go of my worry and I can trust life. I can trust the process of life. I can release the need to lose my cool. Have you lost your cool? Have you lost your temper today or this week? And some of you say, yeah, I lost it like 20 times this week. You know, this is too hard. And, you know, you just begin where you are and you recenter yourself and, you know, yesterday ended last night, you start again. It's never too late to start your day over again. And you bring yourself back and you come to the place where you can say to yourself, I release the need to react to anything or anyone. I can say to myself in my mind something like, my healthy side will take this under advisement. I had a teacher in Fort Lauderdale who always used to say that because he always seemed to be engaged in these situations where people seemed to be challenging him. And he admitted he used to be in a lot of arguments. And he was telling his class one year, he said, I learned to say to myself, my healthy side will take this under advisement. And that was a big step for him because he said, I stopped talking back and stopped. As soon as you respond to the, you know, I'll call it craziness, you know, as soon as you respond, then you're in the story, you're in the mix yourself. You don't have to be. Just because somebody says something to you or about you, it doesn't mean that you have to respond. You could see peace instead. So let your healthy self take it under advisement was Dr. Bill's suggestion. You know, people will, you know, say a lot of things to you. They might, you know, they might want to argue, they might want to fight, may want to do many things. But I'm not obligated to solve other people's situations or challenges or take them all on like they belong to me. And I know some of you are living in families and you have situations going on which are where you're probably overly involved, perhaps codependent. And here's the thing to understand, that you're not obligated to solve other people's problems or challenges. You're here to live your own glorious life. You're here to be you, and you're here to experience you, and you're here to express and learn to express and to know that you're not junk, and to realize though you may have made some mistakes while you're learning and growing, you're not a mistake yourself. Every human being that has lived, as far as I've ever heard, has made a lot of, we'll call them mistakes, while they're growing and they're evolving. I don't know really if they're even mistakes, because as anyone learns and evolves, you're going to try things, and some things are going to work well and some things are not, and that's how we learn. Sometimes we do things that, as we look back on them, we're ashamed and we wish we had done differently. But the fact is, and this is a line from Louise's book, that you've always done the best that you could with the information, the understanding, and the consciousness that you had at the time. So you might have done some things that are pretty awful in your own estimation, and but at the time, that was your decision, and that was then, and this is now. I remember from my parents when they were older telling me, if we were ever able to do things over, we would have done many things different. And that's true for all of us. But we don't have the luxury of doing things over in the past. We have today, right? So we want to let go of the past, and we want to realize that everyone is and was doing the best they could at the time, and let it all go. Some of us are drawn into situation after situation after situation, and after a while we start to realize that there's a pattern operating within us. You might think in terms of relationships. It seems like you let's say you've had 3 or 4 relationships, and you notice there's a certain trend going on with you in these relationships. And so that's really a great thing to start to realize that you are participating in something. It's a great start, realizing that this kind of situation that's going on has happened before. It could be relationships, it can be with money, it can be with your health, or it could be habits. And you realize, oh my goodness, I'm doing this again, right? You find yourself in a familiar place. Maybe you're in some situation. It could be a work situation, it could be friendships, relationships, it could be anything. But you're going to find yourself in a familiar place, and you think, my God, here I am again. You know, what's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you, but there's a way you're approaching something that probably needs to be changed. You might be experiencing rejection or embarrassment or hurt, or any number of things and feelings. And you notice, oh my goodness, again, this has happened to me before. And it's happened to me not just once, but quite a few times. See, if you're going through any of these things, these are great moments for you where there's an awareness. So this is a great place to begin when you start to realize, okay, I've got patterns operating within me that are drawing circumstances to me. In terms of health, if you're constantly critical of yourself, it's going to be bringing forward dis-ease in your body, Louise said. Louise herself was talking about cancer. She had several bouts of cancer, and she had a couple operations, if I remember her story right. And her famous line was, she says, I had to start to understand that if I didn't deal with the patterns of thought within me, you know, there's only so much of me the surgeons can take away. You know, so she said, you know, the surgery can be successful, but if I don't take care of the underlying pattern of thought, then I'm going to create more of the same. So most of us don't really have, you know, the same awareness that Louise had around this, but your mind is so incredible. The power that you possess is so amazing. You can either be using it constructively, as we talk about often, or we use it destructively. If your thoughts are on high, as we say, you know, if you're hitching your wagon to the stars that Emerson spoke of, meaning if your thoughts are generous and good, and you're talking about what's good and what's beautiful, if your conversation is on a higher level, you're going to be drawing to you know, much more positive experiences in your life. If your conversation is, you know, constructed around what's wrong and what's missing and what's wrong in the world, or some version of ain't it awful, I mean, if you're a person who's doing that all the time, I mean, you're definitely a child of God, and you're evolving, you are where you are, and there's nothing wrong with you being wherever you are. But if the place you're coming from tends to be negative, you know, then like attracts like. There's a law of cause and effect. So, you know, your consciousness, wherever you are, you know, is bringing forward your world. When you've heard before the expression that the kingdom of God is at hand, you know, it means it's here, it's now. And so life is responding to you here and now. If you've got a lot of stuff that's going on in your life that's not what you like, you know, or if you have a lot of things in your life that's really to your liking, it's not good or bad either way. It's just a reflection of consciousness. It's a reflection of where you presently are. The thing that's really nice about it, it's very, very fluid. And no matter where you are, you're at a place of change. So the point of power is always right here. You might have had a bad couple of weeks. You might be going through some tough times. You might have gone through 2 or 3 relationships or marriages. You might have gone through as many jobs. You might have quite a history. Note that word history. It's like his story. You might have quite a story. And the thing that's beautiful about religious science is the history is the story, but you have the power to change it all around today, starting here, starting now. The point of power is always in the present moment, said Louise Hay and many other great people. Another statement that's attributed to our teaching is, principle is not bound by precedent. That's probably one of the most important statements in religious science. Principle, meaning God, universe, is not bound by anything. So just because it's happened 20 times before, just because you might have been, creatively destructing your life, you dismantling your life, it doesn't have to continue. It can all change today. Spirit doesn't wait. Spirit responds to you in the now. So as you learn to, approach life in a different way, and you put a declaration or a demand on consciousness, the world will turn, the world will change. You have the power to use. Ernest Holmes says it's greater than you, but it's within you, and you can use it. So we want to start again with gratitude. We want to get our vision higher. If we intend to see things, we intend to see life as being perfect and perfectly unfolding. And we're able to do this as we learn to slow down and center ourselves in spiritual awareness, in the idea that there's a oneness of God and an allness of God. When I was younger and when I was taking ministerial classes, there were many books to read, but it always came down to the word consciousness. I must have talked about consciousness for I don't know how many years, because consciousness is your awareness, and your awareness is what is playing out and creating it's a reflection. My consciousness is reflected in my world, and your consciousness is reflected in your world. So we want to assess for ourselves whether we are coming from a place of love, whether we're coming from a place of connection. I've been involved in wonderful groups over the years, and that would be the question. Are you coming from connection? Meaning, are you coming from source? Are you coming from that place where you know you're supplied and supported? If so, great. If you're always coming from connection, knowing that you're one with God, one with source, you're opening up pathways to great good. But if you're coming from a place of brokenness where, it's a you and them and you against the world, and you're talking about what's wrong and what's missing, then things are not going to be working the way you want them to be working. So are you coming from connection, or are you coming from a lesser place? Are you coming from a place of ego and separation? Many years ago, there was an expression which was ego stands for easing God out. If you're in separation and you're not connected, you're not partnering up with Source. One of the things we teach you here is deep within the center of your being, there's an infinite well of love that came directly from Louise Hay. So, deep within you is this divine essence, and it's in all of us. If you're coming from this place, this connection, if you're coming from a place where you have an overriding sense of connection with this one, then you're not going to have very many problems, because you have a sense of being connected with the divine, and you've built up your consciousness. And, your life flows. You're living in positive expectancy. Things happen, but they don't happen in the same way, because you're not defeated by everything that happens. You follow what I'm saying? You have the consciousness that transcends. So all of us are works in progress. Not everybody on this call is in that place. It's a place we work toward. Back when I was learning about these principles during those years, I was focusing on certain words and trying to learn how to embody 3 words in particular. In my spiritual studies, I was learning were the omnis. There's omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience. Now, I know many of you have heard these words. Maybe some of you haven't. The idea of omnipresence, okay? That would suggest that this energy is everywhere present all at the same time. Every country, every person in the world, it's a presence. It's never an absence. And that idea is, if you think about it, you know, there's another saying, God is all that there is. Well, omnipresence means, that's what it means. This presence is in everything and everyone and at the same time. And omnipotence or omnipotence, however you want to say it, is all power. All the power in the world is everywhere, meaning all the power is in you. You know, and the presence is in you. And omniscience is all intelligence. It's everywhere, and it's in you. So within you is power, presence, and all-knowing. It's in you, operating through you. So those were words that it was suggested to me to contemplate and embrace. You know, we think of, we live in a spiritual universe where this energy is everywhere and in everyone. So we have all the power is available, all the intelligence is available. You can inquire within and you can ask yourself questions, and you have an internal guidance system. Spirit is always there and will answer you. So it's smart of us not to react to everything in our life. It's smart of us to slow down. And as we joke about, there's a phrase we use, we take pause. We take a pause because if we're out there just reacting, if people say something, we have to retaliate right away. We can't stop ourselves, it seems. But if you can learn to slow it down, you hear me joke about that. I'll say, stop, stop in the name of love. Just stop and regroup and tell yourself, all is well. I trust the process of life. That's Louise's little saying. All is well. I trust the process of life. Because if you're on a spin and you're doing the negative spin and you're reacting to everybody, that's not going to take you where you want to go. I'm going to promise you that. So think of those 3 words in terms of the presence, the power, the intelligence, all of it is in you, operating through you. You come fully equipped to handle everything, every challenge that could ever come your way. You come equipped to transcend your problems and to master the possibilities in your life. It's all operating fully, completely within you. It always has been. It's just many of us have been unaware of it. For those of us who really practice this teaching, who show up and really attempt to live it and practice it, you're going to be seeing life much differently than most of the world sees life, or what Holmes used to say, the masses. Most people in the world do not think the way we do. Most people don't think as religious scientists or as New Thought students. We understand that spirit, source, is all that there is. There's one power, there's nothing else. For those of you who have found yourself here at the center, however you found yourself with us or with this teaching, you've been given a really tremendous gift. You might not even realize what a great gift it is to have discovered this teaching or the center. It's like the greatest thing in the world once you start to understand it. It's that thing, you've discovered what they used to say, the pearl of great price, meaning you've discovered that within you, you have the whole thing. The spirit is within you. And if you think about it and you fan it a little bit and you contemplate it and you awaken to it, you're going to realize how great you are. You are a spiritual being. You are 1 in a billion yourself. You yourself are an individualization of spirit. And you might have a low opinion of yourself. You might not love yourself yet enough. But the thing is, you know the truth of these words. And if you keep coming back here week after week, and you keep embracing some of these ideas and work with these affirmations, you're going to build up your consciousness. Because spirit is within you, and it's beyond anything that I could ever describe. I recently wrote an article that I want to share a paragraph or two with you tonight. In every gathering we have at the center, that here in New York, that many of you love and support, and we appreciate your contributions, and we just appreciate you being here anyway. But in all of our gatherings, we try to emphasize the extraordinary nature of the knowledge and the awareness you're acquiring as you learn this teaching, as well as the profound significance you'll acquire by practicing it in your day-to-day living. Each of you on this call are part of a rare and exceptional group. Statistically, you're rare and exceptional because you've come to understand the principles of new thought and you embrace the idea that God, Source, is all that there is. Most of the world, as I said before, doesn't know this, and they live from a much different place of understanding. In the grand scheme of life, of humanity, only a very few individuals from any generation understand what you understand. Few discover and operate from what the consciousness was of Ralph Waldo Emerson, what he epitomized, or what Louise Hay was trying to teach. By recognizing your oneness with life, and then realizing that you're cause to your own experience, you've stepped away from the reactionary tendencies that dominate most of humanity. I want you to consider this. While the masses worldwide may find themselves in the grips of circumstances, you who are on this call can begin to unlock your power to change your reality, and you can master the possibilities and exert control over many situations just by means of your consciousness and your understanding. So I was told as a young student, it isn't so much that you have great things to do, you have great things to realize. So once you realize the power you have, it's an extraordinary gift. The awareness of God, in you, the power that you possess. And how could you take that for granted? You see, once I heard that I have the power, it's in me, operating through me, and I realized, oh my God, I have a lot to learn, and I have to keep working at it, because I had a lot of old stories that were running within me that I needed to find a way to deal with, to cancel, to replace, to neutralize. And Louise would say it's like cleaning a house. You just begin wherever you are, thought by thought. So we live in a world where people are swept along by the currents of faith, and they're living at the effect of everything. They're living in division towards one another. In this teaching, you get to stand apart. You're kind of like a pioneer because you're the author of your own experience. You're writing your own life. Each of us who participate in this teaching, if we really practice it, possess the key to shaping our life according to our deepest dreams, and our aspirations. So it's really a wonderful thing. It's an incredible opportunity, and it's also it's a big responsibility. So you're here, and it's a wonderful thing. You're here, and you're participating, you're starting to learn, or some of you know, been at it like I have. Never underestimate, though, the rarity of your awareness and the importance of practicing these principles. We remind you of them every week, but they're life-changing to the extent that you practice them. And I would like to add, cherish the knowledge that you've gained, and you're gaining here, and embrace it fully, and keep reminding yourself of it. Our tapes or our recordings are available 24 hours a day on Facebook and YouTube. So many times it's really helpful to listen again. Remember that you are not merely fortunate, but extraordinary in your understanding. If you understand this, it sets you on a path of empowerment, self-mastery, and you're tapping into limitless potential, because within you is limitless potential. So stay with us and continue to explore the depths of the wisdom that you possess. And as you uncover these pearls, start sharing them with others who seek their own awakening. And then this brilliance of your consciousness, it'll start to shine, and we're here to shine, all of us. Those of us who are at the center, who are really applying the teaching, know that if you stay with us and on course, your journey will be filled with awe-inspiring discoveries, and your life will be transformed, and you'll be transforming the lives of others along the way. A point for today: we don't look outside of ourselves for anything. When we're in metaphysics, the whole thing is inner contemplation, realizing that we don't get our good from people, places, and things. Deep at the center of our being is everything we could ever need or want. And knowing that whatever is inside of us is so beautiful and exquisite, it just needs to be awakened. So you can realize, as you awaken how great you are, you can realize the perfection of who you are. This is what this course is designed to do. For you to work on yourself, love yourself more, remember the truth of who you are, what you are, and to know that everything is God in action, and everyone is everyone is doing the best they can, and they're unfolding. Even the things in life that looks and feels unpleasant and messy, is life unfolding. I'd refer you tonight, I'm not going to read the poem to you by Thich Nhat Hanh, I never say his name quite right, but the poem is something I'd recommend for anyone, which is entitled "Please Call Me by My True Names." I suggest everyone read it, because the poem is breathtaking in its scope. You'll see different characters acting out their lives and their actions. And it's unsettling in some places. Among the characters, there's a pirate, and there's a frog, and there's a young girl, and some what would be terrible things. There's a lot going on in that poem. And in it, you come to the obvious conclusion that the universe spirit is evolving in every moment of what you're experiencing in the poem. You come to understand that spirit is in everything and everyone, including the pirate, all the time and all at once. So we talk about this spirit that's in everyone all the time and all at once. We talk about it as love, intelligence that's evolving, this presence. And this presence is evolving in everyone. It's evolving in you now. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter how you have been hurt or who has hurt you. We understand that life and spirit and love is operating in all places and in all things. And in that particular poem, it's breathtaking. The poem is wonderful because it just gives you a glimpse of how it operates, in the greater outer world. But the thing to take away is it's operating perfectly in you all the time. It's awesome to understand and realize that you live, move, and you have your being in this perfect love. As you embrace this teaching, and as you understand this teaching and practice this teaching, things are going to start to quiet down for you. Things are going to improve. You'll want to be still more often. You want to be quiet more often, because, you're going to learn to contemplate. And you're going to realize that as you change your consciousness, your world is going to start to change. And you're going to realize there's a wisdom in you that you can tap into that will respond to you and offer you guidance. And if you get a sense of it, and you know how great you are with this understanding, and with this understanding, it's right here and it's available, you're going to have a greater sense of how wonderful life is. And so it's worth it if you have to put a little bit of effort. Start being the guardian at the gate, stopping yourself in certain conversations. We've had recent classes where people say, I say it and I say it, but the thing is, you got to bring yourself to a place where you believe it, where you have conviction, where your affirmations, take on a feeling so you can embody what you say. So put some more effort into it. So you'll slow down, you'll stop some of the automatic reactions, and as you slow down long enough, you're going to realize how life is really responding to you. One of the most effective ways for me to accomplish this, or for us to accomplish this, is by developing, again, a grateful heart, or developing a consciousness of gratitude. I've heard for 40 years to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. It was a simple statement from a recovery program. But in doing it, amazing things happen. As we cultivate an attitude of gratitude, our life shift, as we say, happens. I have so many friends who come from a place of what's wrong, and I just see the misery that's in their lives, and I can't change that. Even where I have tried, it doesn't work. We can't change other people, but we can change ourselves. So that's our work, keeping on seeing the good. And it can seem really difficult to see the good when, during tough times, especially if you're going through a tough time, and we've all been through them. We've experienced losses and, jobs, friends, health issues and money issues. So coming from a place of connection is so important, coming from a place of acceptance, coming from a place of knowing that you're supplied and supported and that the processes of life are there for you. As I was preparing the lesson, I was thinking this is such a tough one for people. It's easier for us in religious science because we have this understanding, those of us who practice it. And even we, get to places where we forget. So we have this saying with Louise, remembering and forgetting. It's the game that we play. But if you're plugged into our teaching and you stay with us long enough, we're going to always keep reminding you, just get back on track. Principle is not bound by precedent. But for other people, it's really tough because they don't have any of this training. You can get into a place of remorse and loss, and people can get stuck when things aren't working out as planned. People are going through a tough time in the world right now with finances, and I listen, but there's an inner dialogue going on with me which will say I'm not participating, because people can take you down in the sense if you get all caught up in it and you listen to what's wrong and what's awful and all of that, next thing you know, it's part of your consciousness. So you need to be the guardian at the gate of your consciousness and come to understand that life is responding to you. So you've got to step out of group thinking, and the mind of what we'll call race mind, which is really the collective mind, and realize that, life responds to you. So, put your consciousness in places that are high. Elevate your consciousness to a place where you're supplied and supported, and where that everything you need to know is revealed to you at the perfect time and place. So keep telling yourself things like, I can choose to be what I want to be. I've told you before, I've told this class once before about Pascals Wager because it was important to me. You might remember that. The story of Pascal's Wager was, he was a French mathematician and philosopher, and he kept on saying, keep seeing the God in it, the good in it. And the argument was, well, what if you're wrong? And his wager was, if you keep on seeing, in other words, at the end of your life, what if you're wrong? What if there was no God or good in it? And his answer was, well, even if you're wrong, you win. Because if you keep on living your life seeing the good, you're going to create the good, so you're going to win anyway. you're going to come out ahead every single time. You know that, and of course the wager was with Pascal. But what if he was wrong again? If he's wrong, you win. Just because you are taking the high road, you're taking the positive side of life. You're choosing to be a lifter in life. You're choosing to lift people up. You're choosing to lift yourself up, your consciousness. So my cheat sheet on my exam question all those years ago was keep betting on God. It's a much safer way to live. Keep on telling yourself you're supplied and supported, even when there's no evidence of it. It will elevate your consciousness. If you throw your consciousness towards living the affirmative life and seeing the good in God in every situation, you're lifting yourself up and you're lifting up the whole world around you, the whole harbor. That's the work we're here to do, to be lifters. So we practice. And you might think, oh my God, it's not easy to do this. And some of you will say, I have so much negativity in me, and this lesson is causing me to realize I have a long way to go. Louise answered one of her audiences by saying, you begin wherever you are. You've heard me say before, she'll say it's like cleaning a house. You just begin where you are. And other people have said, there's so much that's in me that's negative, I'm never going to be able to do it. I would say stop saying that to yourself. Just, you say to yourself, starting here, starting now. I'm in a new moment, and I'm going to think the best and do the best I can. For those of you who are new, please don't compare yourself to anyone else, any of us, because everyone's got some of this work to do. Even the ministers, even those of us who've been around it for a long time, there's always more to do. If you get involved with this course, if you've been living your life where you've been blaming people a lot for your reality, maybe your girlfriend, your parents, all of a sudden in this teaching, you come to realize your life is not about them, so stop blaming people. Our life is about us and the things that we tell ourselves. So you might start thinking, oh my goodness, for so many years I thought everything was about them. And so we come into this teaching and realize that if we're talking about other people and what they're doing wrong, that's a conversation that is not empowering. We have to let that go and realize, okay, whatever happened in the past is in the past. I'm responsible for my own thinking, and starting here, starting now, I'm not going to be talking about my life experience in terms of what other people have done. As Dr. Bill T. used to say to me back in Florida many years ago, we are authors of our own experience, plain and simple. You're writing your own book. And the thing that I remember, another friend, she was an attorney, she said, the final chapter has not been written. So wherever you are right now, even if your whole life has been a mess, I'm sure that's not been the case for most people, but even if it has, you get to write this chapter. And starting here, starting today, you can write a different chapter, and it's not too late. And you might say, oh, I have such a long way to go. That's what people tell me. It's a journey, without a doubt. I've been working on mine for over 40 years. One of the sayings I found from previous talks is no one ever promised you that it was going to be easy, but we did tell you in every case it's going to be well worth it. And so we have a ways to go, and that's okay. So there's power, Dr. Holmes said, for good greater than you in the universe of which you're a part, and you can use this power. You're part of this power. So as we continue to learn more and more about self-healing every week, let's start thinking about life as though we're in a school. We're here to learn many lessons. We've got lots of lessons that are here for us to expand and grow. I like to remember Emerson now, where he said, the dice of God are always loaded. Because that message told me that even when I make mistakes, and sometimes I experience some pain as a result of the mistakes, everything that's happening in our lives is happening for us, to help us grow, to bring us to a higher place of understanding. All of life everywhere is evolving forward. And that's very comforting to realize in and of itself. There's a beautiful quote that I've been contemplating for over 20 years, if not more. And it is, and let me say it, it's this: it takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. So as you stay in this teaching, after a while, you're going to realize all is well, everything's perfect, everything's unfolding in divine order. And and again, it takes wisdom, great wisdom, to know that everything, all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. So you're in the right place. You're learning about consciousness. You're learning about power. You're learning about how gratitude itself is causative. On a soul level that all is well. And again, it takes wisdom to understand that all these things are working out for the good. As you stay involved in this teaching, you're going to be lifted up into a place of greater knowing, and you're not going to be troubled by the things that are bothering most people. A little bit like Jesus when he said to his mother, "I need to be about my Father's business." Well, you're in a place like that now as you're in a teaching like this, where you're setting aside a lot of the cares of the world and a lot of the things that have bothered you earlier in your life, because you're here to cherish the moments, you're here to celebrate life, you're here to master the possibilities, you're here to express life in bigger and better ways. And it's all happening for you. So as we turn over, as we get to the next part of the session, I'd love to have as many people say hello as can. You don't have to really say anything. If you'd like to talk about what it's been like being you, what you've been learning, that's great. We'll keep the comments brief and moving so we can hear from as many people as possible. So I'm thrilled to have as many people on as they're on, and so we'll see you on the other side. Thank you.